Hey everybody, welcome back to Chortle Cast. I'm Jake, and with me as always, Steven, the Deadpan Man. He really should be named Shiro. I don't know. Anyway, Steven, there you go.
He's the villain behind glasses, which is funny because I'm actually wearing my glasses for probably the first time in a podcast. Did not mean to do that.
Well, there you go. The villain in glasses himself, but not really, but kind of, is here. And this is Chortle Cast, and if you didn't know, this is where the official podcast for Chortle Games, where we talk about TV shows, movies, animes, video games, mostly video games, but anything we want to talk about, really. We just hang out and talk about all the stuff we love. And we do this every Monday, 12 o'clock Central Time. You can be a part of the show by writing in at chortlecast@gmail.com. And you can also jump in our Discord. And we have a whole channel dedicated to that as well, so you can be a part of it there. You can get to the Discord from our channel banner on YouTube or in the description of this video or podcast, whatever way you choose to consume Chortle
Whatever
Cast.
floats your boat.
Do what?
Whatever floats your boat.
Whatever floats your boat. You know, all boats float, and sometimes boats are Anthem. So, you know, there's all sorts of boats.
I was just about to make that joke.
We've been watching, me and Steven watched a complete story of Kingdom Hearts in 30 minutes by Barry. I can't remember his last name, but anyway, it's very funny. And he talks about Anthem turning into a boat, because he kind of does. He's not wrong. But anyway, it's really funny. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's not what we're here to talk about. We got a great show for you this week. We're going to be talking about the Anthem VIP Demo that just happened this past weekend. Mm-hmm. Steven and I got a chance to play up to 3 javelins total, so that was really fun. And we're going to have some thoughts on that. We're also going to talk about the Nintendo Indie Direct or highlight presentation that happened this past week, talking about the 9 games that they got there. And then also we're going to be talking about Metroid Prime 4 development being restarted. And then we're going to talk about some GameStop Kingdom Hearts 3 canceled orders for people, which is kind of a sucky situation. But anyway, that's what we're going to be talking about. But first, we're going to do some catch-up. Steven, what have we been playing that we've been waiting to play for a long time?
Well, should we talk about that, or did you have anything else you wanted to?
I mean, I can mind that pretty much encompasses what I've really gotten to play this past week. I've played a little bit of the Spider-Man DLCs, but I've talked about that. I think last podcast I talked a fair amount about that. Mm-hmm. So have you had anything other than Anthem that you wanted to talk about?
I've just been playing Anthem and Division, basically, nothing else.
Okay, let's talk about this, because last week there was a lot of Division news. Is there any new, like, you have any thoughts on Division 2 based on some of the live streams and stuff? Or
I have a lot of thoughts on Division 2, just to do a quick point by point of it. Mm-hmm. We now know more about how skills work, and in Division 1, each skill has modifiers. Like, you could have a sticky grenade, but that sticky grenade could be modified to either be like a bigger explosion or an EMP or a flash grenade, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. That was probably a bad example because those are actually kind of different. Right. But in Division 2, they've made it to where instead of 9 skills, there are 8 skills that we know of. And the modifiers basically make them completely different skills. Like there is a drone that you can send out, and the modifiers are like, there's an attack one that does machine gun. There is a healing one that can heal you or heal an ally. There's one that can absorb bullets. So seeing how skills work in that sense is really cool, because it feels like the modifiers are going to be less about you're figuring out what percentage and figuring more utility. So that's neat. They talked a lot about Dark Zone.
Right.
And I'm very pleased with what I've heard about Dark Zone, because now
you get rewards regardless, right?
Yes.
Of your involvement. That's good.
Only certain loot is contaminated, and instead of one large Dark Zone now, there are 3 smaller ones, and they're scattered around the map. And they've normalized the Dark Zone, which basically means that you won't run into those builds that break the game anymore, which is good because in PvP and Division 1, that's all there are. So people are basically unkillable because they run a certain build that breaks everything.
Right.
But now, instead of going rogue only by killing other players or attacking other players, you can now do what's called white rogue, I believe, where you can like hack devices or steal a whole cache before anybody else can. So basically, being a rogue agent isn't just being a dick to players now. And I really like that because now people who wanted to get those rogue rewards were just like, well, it's better than me than you. So they would just screw over players and ruin the experience for people. So that's changed now. There are a lot of different ways to go rogue in the Dark Zone that just involve putting a target on your head rather than ruining someone's day, basically. Another thing that they've done that's kind of interesting is they've made it to where when you hit end game, there is what's called occupied Dark Zone, which is where basically the gloves are off. You aren't notified when a player has gone rogue. You don't know what they're doing when they're doing it. There's no normalization, so people can go as balls to the wall with their builds as they want. So what is going to happen in that, I think, is every, like, say 16 hours, something like that, the occupied Dark Zone changes. So you might favor one out of the 3 Dark Zones, but it might be occupied, so you might be like, maybe I'll wait for that one to cool off before I go in there. So it's just something to freshen up the gameplay loop. So that sounds really neat. But they showed a lot of information. But that's really probably isn't the time to talk about it because I think we're gonna learn more in the coming weeks, and there will be a beta 2 weeks from now. I'll be on that beta, so definitely look towards hearing more about Division for like hands-on. In the podcast 2 weeks from now.
Good. Yeah. Well, so far you are liking it. It's shaping up to look good.
A few things are concerning me, but it looks like they are headed in a really good direction.
Okay. Good.
I don't feel betrayed as a fan of the series. I feel like they're doing a lot of right things.
Gotcha. Well, cool. Last week we had a Jake Solo special, and I had a couple Division stories that I wanted to talk to you about, so I wanted to at least kind of just get a catch up on Division. But let's talk about Anthem, the VIP demo, and what we thought. I'll go first, so you can kind of catch your breath a little bit since you were just talking about Division. Overall, I thought it was really, really fun. The first time I took off flying was really, really cool. The combat is easy to pick up, but it's going to be something that you have to master, and you have to figure out what you need to do for your team. The combo system feels really satisfying when you land a combo and see a massive amount of health go off or whatever effect it's going to have. Overall, it was really, really fun. The demo itself is a nightmare to deal with, because there's tons of server issues. Basically, to play the game, you have to start something, restart the entire game, and hope that when you log back in, it'll say, hey, you were just doing something. Do you want to jump right back into that? And it's like, yes. But
you basically have to bypass loading screens because something breaks when you try to load into the game.
Anything. Yeah. But so I got to play as a ranger, and Steven unlocked a storm in his, and then I locked an interceptor with mine. So I got to play the interceptor for a fair amount of time. And it felt completely different from both the storm and the ranger.
It really did.
the Storm and the Ranger have some similarities, but the Interceptor is completely different. For those of you that aren't familiar, that is the smaller, sleeker, faster melee javelin in the game, and it is seriously a melee build. You can just do melee attacks over and over and over, and they're so much more powerful than just shooting an enemy. And you can do so many different things with them. So it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed playing that one. The Ranger I thought was really cool. It definitely was not my play style as much, but I did enjoy it, and I think in a tight situation, or not even a tight situation, just be like in a moment where like, Jake, I'm sorry, we need a Ranger. Like you're the only one that can jump in and then get it. I could do it. And then the Storm, which I got to play on your account, Steven, was really, really fun. It, like the Interceptor, you have so many other magical abilities. You don't even have to, like, it is wasteful to spend time shooting when you could be doing magic. Like the build that I played of Steven has all sorts of builds for the Storm already, which is just awesome. But I played a build that was completely fire. So I had one fireball that I would launch, and it would home. It was called Living Flame, and it would basically was a homing missile that would find somebody, and
it would bounce between targets. So it was like a sentient fireball that would pass through enemies, light them on fire, and seek other enemies. And it could actually, if it hit two enemies, it could bounce back and forth.
Wow.
So it could like pinball enemies. It was really cool.
That's funny. I didn't even notice that. But anyway, it would hit, and it would do what's called a primer. And then my other ability was basically 5 fireballs that I could shoot, just like rapid fire if I wanted to. But you could also hold them and charge them. And when you activate the ability and start charging it, that counts as one use, and so the ability is already cooling down to start again. So theoretically, you could, like, by the time you shot that fireball, you could already have that fireball back. So basically, you could just be launching fireballs constantly, and it was a detonator. So that Living Flame that I just sent out, whatever I hit, if I hit the same target again, it created a combo.
And I was lucky with that fire skill because I found a blue 19 one. So you were using a really good version of that one. It was nuts.
Yeah. But anyway, and then Steven can talk about some of his other builds when he talks about it. But I loved the Storm, and that's what I want to play as. But it was awesome. The Interceptor was really, really cool as well. And again, the Ranger, I really liked playing the Ranger. So Steven, what were your thoughts on it overall?
So my thoughts overall. I've said this several times, and I know I'd probably do this. I sound like a broken record with you guys, but one of the things that stuck out to me the most was in Destiny and Division, for example, when you're playing it, you just feel like you're playing a character that has armor and guns and, is using either their powers or their own devices to leap into action. Right. But in this, and the devs have said like words like when you are piloting a javelin. Like they've been very specific about saying piloting a javelin. And after having experience piloting a javelin, that is the terminology to use because it feels like you are playing as a character controlling a suit. It makes you feel powerful no matter what suit you're in. You don't feel limited. You feel like each suit controls very differently. And it feels like there are tricks and, learning how to fly and everything that as you play, you'll get better at. So it's just an interesting feeling of how like with games like that, because normally they don't have that kind of experience of the more you play, the better you get. It's normally the more loot you get, the better you get. But with this, it really does feel like there is a skill curve, and I like that a lot.
Yeah, there absolutely is. A great example of that is the Interceptor has a dodge that when you point it, basically you hold the dodge button and flick your directional stick until you can do up to 3 quick dashes.
Basically,
Steven got pretty good at it by the end, but it was difficult for me. But I was telling him, I was like, if I played this one for a long time, I could get used to this.
Yeah, because with that, if you're fighting a big brute enemy, you could hit it from the front with an ability, and then when it's about to hit you, you do that, and you could dash right, forward, left, and be behind it in the amount of time it takes for it to finish its attack. And so you could just constantly be like
wailing,
outmaneuvering and wailing something. And it is difficult, but it is something that you can totally do if you master it, if you play it enough. But it's also something that only an Interceptor can do. And so I like that, like with Destiny, you don't really hear conversations like, oh yeah, he's a really good Warlock, or he's a really good Titan. It's just he's a good Destiny player. But in this game, I could totally see like, oh, Jake, yeah, he's our best Interceptor pilot. He needs to be playing Interceptor. Or Steven knows how to handle the Ranger Airborne the best. So you gain something from the innate knowledge and experience that the player brings from like what they've done in the game on their own time, which is really cool. And as far as the classes I played a little bit of Interceptor when Jake unlocked it. I thought it was really cool. Not for me, but it was really cool. I played a good bit of Ranger, and I'm torn because the Ranger is definitely going to be the highest single target DPS character. Well, has the ability to be the highest single target DPS character. But when I played the Storm, and again, this is one of those examples of the javelins flying completely different. I noticed that I gravitated immediately towards being airborne artillery, where I would float above the battlefield, give you guys call outs and like advisory from overhead. And you can only do that, at least early on, with the Storm because it can stay hovering for so long. And so now it's like, I knew I would probably like the Storm conceptually best, but I didn't expect the reason for me to be leaning more towards the Storm being just because of its tactical positioning. I wasn't expecting that at all. Like, if the Ranger could stay hovered over the battle that much, I would play a Ranger over the Storm. Absolutely. Because that's like, field positioning is really important in this game because it's so vertical. And just timing is really important. Communication and setups and knockdowns. And so my comfortable place to be is above watching everything. So if I play Storm primarily, that's going to be the reason why, which is really funny to me. But the gameplay is really solid. The story seems like it has a good foundation, but it's BioWare, so I was never really concerned.
Right.
There are a lot of bugs and glitches, and I'm not even talking like just connectivity issues. I'm talking like there were sound breaking glitches. There was an effect on the Interceptor, the prime and detonate effect, where he can prime things when running past them. There's like that asset's apparently like not in the game or something, because whenever a certain effect would happen, a black circle would just pop on Jake. So
I was freaking out when that first happened. I was like, "What happened to me? What's happened to me? There's a black hole inside of me. Why?" It's crazy.
So the sound design is really cool, but very glitchy. It's often really hard to tell where you're being shot from, and you often feel like you're being shot by something that isn't there. But if and the build we played was 6 weeks old.
Yeah.
So
and there was some rubber banding issues as well.
But overall, it's a really solid foundation, and I even now, going into it, I was like, Anthem is the game that needs to entertain me for 3 weeks because of Division 2. And I was, of course, going to play it further than that, but that was just kind of my bar, was if I could get entertained by this game for 3 weeks, I'm good. And now, after getting my hands on it, and like actually, Jake and I were up on Saturday night. He stayed over because we had Brody's bachelor party. But we stayed up before we watched that insane Kingdom Hearts video we'll probably mention later. But we talked for like an hour just about strategy in Anthem. And you get me talking strategy and teamwork tactics, then I'm going to buy your game. That's kind of how it is. And I'd talked about it in the past, like 2 or 3 weeks ago. My concerns for Anthem, and I didn't think it was going to be a worse game for it. But I am definitely more excited and itching to play the game more now that I've gotten to experience it, because I am ready to be creative and to help people make these javelin concepts and building these teams and setting off formations and stuff. That just sounds really cool. And they've created such a no holds barred, open-ended combat system where you can do that. And so that's really cool.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited to see what the full game has to offer as far as abilities, and then just like we don't even really know what how your pilot can be upgraded. We know that they can be upgraded, but I mean, what sort of things can you apply to that? So it's going to be really crazy to see what kind of builds we can come up with, and then hopefully they'll continue to add more javelins in the future, and maybe we'll see some cool combos there that'll mix up the game.
Yeah,
as well.
I'm honestly, now that I've played it and I've seen how initially my thought was all the javelins kind of deal damage the same way except for the Interceptor, and that feeling is still kind of there. But now again that I've been swayed more in favor towards one javelin just because of how it moves in combat, I'm really curious and excited to see more javelins, because now it's like they all pilot. We've seen how they all pilot and feel very differently, and so I'm curious to see like what else are they going to bring to the table on that end.
Right.
So that's really cool.
Yeah. All right, well, cool. So yeah, the VIP demo was really cool. This upcoming week, they're going to have an open beta, or not an open beta, an open demo. I assume it's going to be the same exact build we just did, just open to the public. Hopefully they will have fixed some of these glitches. Hopefully they will have added more servers to handle the influx of players. But if you want to check out the demo this weekend, it's going to be your chance. Highly recommend you play it. Highly recommend you try it. You're only going to get to try 2 javelins on your account, because you only get
one of them is going to be a ranger,
and then you get to unlock another one. So really, you only get to try one other one than the ranger. So choose that wisely, or coordinate with a buddy who you could get on their account later, and pick. Make sure y'all don't pick the same javelin, so you can try a couple different things. But anyway, let's move into some of the news.
Okay.
So the first thing we'll talk about, let's talk about the Nintendo Indie Highlight presentation that they just did this past week. So they had 9 games that they highlighted. Overall, I was kind of like, on this one. I usually like a lot of the indie titles that they bring to Switch, but none of these in particular just like really just grabbed me and said, you got to play this, Jake. But we'll see. There may be reviews that come out later that say, hey, you really need to try this. Check this out. So the first one is called War Groove. Excuse me. It was announced back in 2017. They had a really cool cinematic trailer for it this time. But basically, it's a turn-based tactical strategy title that is inspired by Fire Emblem and Advanced Wars. It includes over 50 hours of single-player content and allows players
to my ears.
I know, yeah. I knew you would like this one. It allows players to create and share their own maps, campaigns, and stories. So, one of the commanders in the game is a dog, which is really cute. Yeah, it's really cute. It's like a Labrador that's decked out in Roman armor. You need to check this one out, Steven. But basically, a lot of people are calling it an Advanced Wars clone. Yeah. Which is nice because we haven't had an Advanced Wars in a long time.
Yeah, I'm getting it.
So, have you looked at it? Did you just Google or anything?
I saw a little bit of it earlier, and that seems like the kind of Switch game that I need.
I figured you would be interested in that one. Steam World Quest: Hand of Gilgamesh, which is just funny to say. Its release is going to be in 2019, first on Switch. It's a role-playing card game that is the 5th Steam World title by Image and Form Games. Steam World Quest allows you to lead a party of 3 into battle with over 100 unique punch cards, including Kilovolt, Ice Shard, Dragon Roar, Hot Iron, Burning Desire, and more. So, kind of a turn-based card game little title. The artwork looks cool. It's got a very steampunk of style to go into it, so that could be interesting. Crosscode is coming to Switch now. It's supposed to hit sometime in 2019. It's already been on PC. The funny part about this is that recently the Crosscode people were asked, like, hey, will this ever be coming to Switch? And they said something along the lines of, our game will come to Switch when Hedgies fly, which is some sort of monster in their game that doesn't fly. Mm-hmm. And so in the trailer, a character's like, is that a flying Hedgie? So... who knows if they did that on... I mean, obviously they did that on purpose, but I wonder if they set up that tweet just for that punchline later. But anyway, basically Crosscode, players assume the role of an avatar as she logs into an MMORPG of the distant future called Crossworlds. Crossworlds actually takes place in the real world with players controlling avatars to play. Solve puzzles, explore the world, and experience Crosscode's story later in 2019. So, cool. It's got a very, very pixel art style. Looks pretty good. It's been out, so I'm sure there are lots of reviews on other platforms, so people can check that out. Then there's this really interesting one called Double Kick Heroes, a metal rhythm shooter set in an apocalyptic world. It allows players to lead a band through a wasteland on their Gundalic. John Lincoln, Snake, Derek, Randy, and James. They travel through over 30 songs, including licensed tracks by artist Georgia, Gojir.
Okay.
You familiar with that? Okay, I didn't know if you're familiar with that or not. The art style's cool. It kind of looks like something like Hotline Miami and what's that game where you kill everybody? Party after party? No, it's not after party. Shoot. Party
I think
time.
I know what you're talking about.
What is it? We've played it before on the channel. I can't think of what it's called. Oh well. Anyway, somebody let me know in the comments what I'm thinking of. Like 30 minutes from now, I'll come up. I'll be like, oh, it's this. The next one is called When Ski Lifts Go Wrong. I actually kind of want to get this one to do a Let's Play of, Steven. Okay. It's available right now on your Switch. You can go get it. But basically, Steven, you've probably seen similar games like this, like bridge builders, where like you're tasked with constructing a bridge, to cross some sort of like a weird gap. And so you have to build a bridge, and you have like limited resources, and sometimes you have metal instead of wood, or whatever those kind of things you're familiar with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Imagine that, but you're running a ski lift. Is what this game is. So When Ski Lifts Goes Wrong, it's a construction and management simulator that is inspired by games such as Bridge Constructor. Helps skiers, bikers, snowboarders, and more travel safely through multiple levels, or just create scenarios that cause a ton of chaos and destruction. So
wonderful.
It looks very fun. Maybe a Let's Play coming down the pipe at some point, but we'll look into that. The next one is called Forager. It's coming soon to Switch. They didn't give it a full date. It was originally made in 2 weeks from GMS2 Jam. Forager is, according to the developer Hopfrog, it's Legend of Zelda meets Stardew Valley and Terraria. Explore dungeons, farm, fight bosses, manage resources, solve puzzles, and so much more when this title launches later next year. So yeah, it definitely has a... They didn't include Minecraft, but that's kind of where I went to. But Stardew Valley is a good sample of just like you have this plot, and you're like putting, you're collecting things, and you're managing your plot. So like they've got some fruit, some vegetables or something going over here. So it looks interesting. Again, I was kind of like meh about most of these, but anyway. Then they announced that Goat Simulator is coming. So Goat Simulator is coming to Switch. And then this next one is called Inmost. It's coming out in 2019. Inmost is an atmospheric, story-driven story-driven platformer that features 3 playable characters: a knight, a creature, and a stranger, as they explore an old abandoned castle. Each character's tales are interconnected, and they take place across 2 worlds. So this looks very dark, kind of like Inside or Limbo, but with like a pixel art style. I'm interested to see more of the gameplay. But it looks interesting. So for the right price, I might be wanting to try that. Unruly Heroes is inspired by 16th century Chinese novel called Journey to the West. It allows players to take control of Wukong the monkey, the Monkey King, Sanzang the sleepy monk, Qihong the greedy pig, Sand Monk the sensitive brute, as they search for the sacred scroll. Unruly Heroes can be played solo or in local co-op, and PvP can be located online or locally. And this will allow players to experience the legend of the Monkey King. So there you go. It has kind of like a Kung Fu Panda kind of feel to it. It's not, it's 2D, but it looks interesting. That was one of the only other ones that kind of caught my eye that I wanted to look into more. But anyway, sounds like Wargroove was really the only thing that tickled your fancy, Steven.
Yeah, all that kind of sounds,
Yeah. It was a lighter. Honestly, I was surprised they only showed 9 games in this highlight, because normally they show as much as 15 or 20. So this was a much smaller indie highlight, but some of those are cool, and I think the right audience. There's maybe one thing for, you know, there's enough variety that it was maybe one game caught one person's attention. There's not like a huge standout like, oh man, that's the game that everybody's gonna go get. But who knows? We'll see. More news from Nintendo though. Metroid Prime 4, their development has been restarted and handed over to Retro Studios. Nintendo posted a video with no music, and it was just I forget the guy's name who's head of development at Nintendo, and he's just like, hello, this is an update on Metroid Prime 4. We know that you guys are very excited about it. We've been thrilled with all your kind words and your excitement, yada yada yada. And then he talks about how, you know, at Nintendo they have a high standard for what their games are and what the quality of their games are. And he said if they ever feel like, you know, a game is not meeting that standard, you know, they want to fix it and they want to do it right. And so basically, you know, in so many words, he was just like, so we've restarted, or he's like, we are halting production for now. We're handing it over to Retro Studios, and they're restarting development. But he was just very transparent and just very like, here's the deal. We want this to be great. So far, it's not looking great. So we're going to just start from scratch and hand it to another studio and get it done right. But basically, you know, they announced this in 2017. So we've all been like, oh, man, they've been cooking it for 2 years now. Like, now you need to just wipe those 2 years from your mind. 2019 is when they announced this, you know. So now just let it, you know, it's going to be at least 2, 3, maybe 4 years down the road now. So what do you think of this, Steven?
I think we said that it wasn't coming out in 2019, so that's validating.
Hey, high five.
Cool. Yeah, I'm indifferent to Metroid. I think that they need to be careful, because if they just don't put something out and keep saying, oh, we need to keep making it better and better, they're going to set an unrealistic bar for themselves that no game is going to meet, no matter how good it is.
Yeah.
Because it's been so long awaited. It's kind of something that Kingdom Hearts could be facing, but it actually benefits from doing enough and having such a diehard, ridiculous fan base.
Yep, absolutely.
That it gets away with it.
It can. It can get away with anything.
Yes.
That's so funny. I don't know how that. I guess that this is a rabbit hole, but Kingdom Hearts fans, I think, are so dedicated to it because most of us who played Kingdom Hearts it was one of our first like real games to play as a child. So I have a very personal and deep connection to it. But anyway, sorry.
Well, it's just such a unique IP too. But
Kingdom Hearts, yeah.
Yeah. Moving on.
Well, back to Metroid Prime 4. I'm right there with you. I am excited about this one because I haven't played any of the other ones. So this is going to be kind of my opportunity to jump in and play Metroid. I guess it just never caught my eye before. I just always knew her from Smash. But I do think it's good that they are... I think it's great that they've been this transparent. I think it's garnered them a lot of goodwill. There are not people raging in the streets, at least that I've seen. It's mostly just been positive, like, hey, this sounds great, get the game done. So I'm glad to see they were this open and honest about it and transparent. I hope this means they're going to do it justice, but I also hope they don't rush it out. I hope they don't take but at the same time, I hope they don't take it too long and get people riled up. But anyway, we'll see. Hopefully, this is just kind of a bad start to anything. You've got a game series that you've needed to put something out for a long time, and you're starting it and then have to restart it, so you're already pushing that time clock further. It's going to be a rough go. Hopefully, they can get it done without causing too much damage. But I think they're on the right track. All right, and then this last story does not affect me or Steven very much, but I did want to talk about it. GameStop canceled several people's Kingdom Hearts 3 PS4 Pro pre-orders after there was a stock issue. So basically, they canceled a ton. I'm trying to see if there's a hard number of how many they ended up having to cancel. It doesn't look like they gave a hard number. But anyway, they had to cancel these PS4 Pro pre-orders. And so people who had pre-ordered just did not get any chance to get theirs. They got no notification until just this past week. Where, they basically just let people know, hey, sorry, this isn't coming. So Steven and I have been trying to figure out what the issue is, because Steven, you tend to think it may not even be GameStop's fault directly.
It wasn't this malicious thing, I don't think, where GameStop was like, we're just gonna up the sales and then hope for the best, I think it was just either someone that was a liaison between GameStop and the vendors, who just messed up, maybe added too many zeros. Or it could have just been one of those things where it was like just a sucky situation where the vendor was like, hey, we can only give this many, and GameStop was like, are you sure about that? But I just don't see how I don't see how GameStop could have knowingly done this to themselves.
Right.
But companies have done stupider things. They have.
I just and right there with you. I don't know how they could have made this much of an issue, because we have one friend who was affected by this. His name's Gray. He has a channel called My Name's Gray. You can go check that out. But anyway, he posted a video on this actually. But he basically, his whole story is he had pre-ordered this within the first hour of pre-orders being launched.
Yep.
And he still got his canceled. So like, how many people are we talking? Because I mean, obviously, a lot of pre-orders can happen in the first hour, But like, how many? Because like, I'm sure there's people who have pre-ordered after that, days after, So that's just a crazy mess up on their part.
Yeah. It was probably somebody at GameStop didn't see the fine print of how many units were being made, and it was probably like a really low amount. And with Kingdom Hearts fans, and there are a lot of them out there.
Yep.
They'll buy anything. They will buy anything.
I've heard of people who have bought 4 different copies of the game for no reason. For no reason. So I don't know. It's crazy. Kingdom Hearts fans like me are crazy. Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in to this episode of Chortle Cast. We do hope you've enjoyed it. If you did, there's a couple things you can do to help us out. Number one, if you're watching on YouTube, you're already at chortlegames.com. You can leave a like on this video, share it with your friends and family, and leave us a nice little comment. Let us know what you thought of this episode, our topics. What did you think of the VIP demo? Let us know. You can also, if you're listening audibly through iTunes, you can leave us a nice little review. That really helps people find the channel. You can also send us an email, like I said at the top of the channel, at chortlecast@gmail.com. You can be a part of the show, write in topics or news stories you'd like to hear us talk about and comment on. You can also do that through our Discord, which you can find a link to in the description of this video and podcast, or in the banner on our channel page, which is chortlegames.com. You can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook, both at Chortle Games, and keep up with what we're doing. So anyway, but the podcast is not the only thing we do. It is the first thing we do in the week. How do you like the podcast being on Mondays now, Steven? I really like just kind of the start of the week, get all the news from last week, do a restart. It's gonna be great.
I think it's good.
I'm liking it too. So podcast is on Monday, 12 o'clock Central Time. Then on Tuesday we do this thing we call Team Up Tuesday, which is where we play a co-op game. Not sure what it's going to be this week. It may be Division. It may be Destiny. I may be there. I may not be there. I'm still trying to figure that out because Kingdom Hearts comes out that day. And so I'm going to be very busy. Not just playing Kingdom Hearts, because I wouldn't leave you hanging like that, Steven. But I do have to edit a Let's Play of Kingdom Hearts, which will be coming out Wednesday. So Wednesday we'll have a Let's Play of Kingdom Hearts. It'll be my first hour with the game, edited down to about 10 minutes. It'll be the best bits. Yep. You're going to see me, someone who has literally played this game when I was like 10. And I'm now here at what is supposed to be the finale. I'm going to cry. I'm going to be emotional. I'm going to scream. It's going to be a good time. So just, that's going to be a good one to watch. But anyway. And then Thursday, Steven does a live stream series where he plays through some of his favorite games. Right now he's playing through the Uncharted series. You're beating 3 this week, right?
I think. I'm planning to beat 3 this week.
Yes. So
it should happen.
Uncharted 3, about to get beat. So go watch that. That's where there's fire demons that he fights in this one, right?
Spoilers. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I'm
horrible. Yeah.
And then Friday, we do a Where is Zer stream, which is where we find Zer in Destiny 2, show you what he's selling and where he's at. And then we also do a live stream Friday night and a live stream Saturday night. So I know Friday's live stream is probably, or Friday or Saturday, one of them is probably going to be, no, it's going to be Friday. Friday is going to be me playing Kingdom Hearts. So if you want to just see me dance around, I probably won't be as giddy with excitement unless something crazy happens. But yeah, I'll start enjoying it. Hopefully I'll be good at the game by then, but we'll see how that all goes. But anyway, and then we'll have another podcast next Monday. So thank you guys for watching. Steven, thank you for being here.
Absolutely.
I always enjoy it.
Yeah.
And so everyone have a good week. We'll see you on the live stream tomorrow night if you get to tune in. Otherwise, we'll see you later. Bye.